Spa retreat with safety goggles. That's what Sam Morris called my quarterly refinery inspection. Loud enough for the whole room to hear, followed by a smug little laugh like he was proud of himself. That was the moment I knew everything was about to go to hell. My name's Claire Reynolds. I'm 43. I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been running refinery compliance inspections across Texas for over a decade. Never missed a deadline. Never triggered a single fine. Until Sam walked in, all sharp suits and smirks, fresh from corporate like he was sent to save us from ourselves. The meeting was a full department roundtable, 20 people, plus Sam at the head like he owned the place. He skimmed through the quarterly reports, barely glanced at mine, then dropped the comment like a punchline. Claire's spa retreat to Houston is costing us $14,000 per quarter, he said, waving the budget spreadsheet. $14,000 for what? Rubber boots and a checklist. Laughter. A few chuckles from the newer hires. Most stayed quiet. I didn't say a word. He kept going. Starting next quarter, refinery compliance is being centralized. Haley will take point. Haley, his 24-year-old assistant who still asked me what PPE stood for 2 weeks ago. I looked up, blinked once, and nodded. That was it. Quick note. Before we go further, tell us which country you're watching from. When the meeting ended, I didn't argue. I canceled my July inspection. I typed out a clean summary email, attached the refinery compliance logs, the contact list, last year's inspection notes, everything. I copied Sam and sent it straight to Haley. No reply, no read receipt, nothing. The next morning, I walked in early and started backing up all my refinery correspondence. 10 years worth of reports, call logs, incident records. I saved every single file to an external drive, labeled it Legacy Refinery Access Do Not Delete. After lunch, I checked the email again. Still no reply. Sam walked past my desk, talking loudly about cutting bloat and streamlining redundancies. Haley followed, typing something on her phone. I leaned back in my chair, looked out at the refinery map tacked on the far wall. I'd been to every one of those sites, in the rain, in the heat, gear on, clipboard in hand, doing the job they now thought a Google Doc could cover. That was the last time I offered help without being asked. Sam had made his move. Now it was my turn. I opened a blank folder on my desktop and named it, When This Blows Up. Then I hit save. The next week, Sam kicked off what he called the Streamline Initiative. New poster in the break room, new buzzwords in every email. Suddenly, we weren't in compliance anymore. We were agile and future-focused. That's what he called gutting our safety checks and tossing every process that had kept us out of fines for a decade. He started small, took the refinery permit tracker out of the main workflow, claimed it was duplicative and inefficient. A few days later, I noticed the checklist for quarterly site walks had vanished from the shared drive. I didn't say a word, just pulled the old copy from my own archive and saved it onto my flash drive. Then came the jokes. Every staff meeting turned into a sideshow. I get some folks are still clinging to legacy processes, Sam would say, glancing straight at me. But this isn't 2007. We're not printing maps and knocking on pipes anymore. Chuckles. Always those nervous, scattered laughs from the same handful of people trying to stay on his good side. Haley sat next to him, nodding like a bobblehead. She color-coded every spreadsheet he gave her, filled her desk with sticky notes and succulents, and hadn't set foot in a refinery once. I smiled when he looked at me, took notes, let him think I was playing along. But every time he announced a change, I backed up the old process. Every time he trashed something outdated, I kept a copy for myself. My flash drive got thicker by the day. I labeled each folder by month, by site, by permit type. I even pulled contact logs from our vendor compliance calls. Names, numbers, the whole thing. Mid-June, I caught something new. The compliance calendar, the one with all state inspection due dates, was gone from the shared drive, just wiped out. I didn't ask questions. I already knew. I pulled the last backup I had, double-checked the inspection deadlines, and added a countdown to the sticky note under my monitor. July 6th, Texas inspection due. Big black letters, circled twice. That calendar might have disappeared for everyone else, but I'd carried this team through 3 audit cycles. I knew the rhythm. I knew what happened when you missed a state deadline. It wasn't theory to me. I'd seen what fines looked like, but Sam? He acted like compliance was just paperwork. Like our whole job was some old habit he needed to break. Efficiency doesn't mean doing more, it means doing less better, he said one day in a meeting, smirking like he'd come up with it himself. We don't need 6 eyes on every form just to feel busy. That was a dig at our triple check system, the one that kept our permits spotless. He wanted fast over careful, cheaper over tested. Fine. He'd get exactly what he asked for. That night, I stayed late, backed up the refinery permit archive again, pulled every flagged report from the last 5 years, sorted them by site and risk level, labeled the newest folder Texas July 6th High Risk Priority. I slipped the flash drive into the back of my drawer, under my old hard hat and inspection gloves. The office was quiet. Sam's light was off. Haley's desk was empty, just a purple water bottle and a "You Got This" hog sign next to her keyboard. I stood, stretched my back, and looked one more time at the sticky note, July 6th. 3 weeks. That's how long he had before the first deadline hit, and when it did, I wasn't going to lift a finger. The reminder email hit my inbox at 8:02 a.m. sharp. Subject line, Texas Quarterly Inspection, due July 6th, from TX Reg Compliance at energy.state.tx.us to Haley.Wilson at cc Claire.Reynolds at. I stared at it for a full minute. It was automatic. The regulator system still had my name on the legacy list. That'd be corrected soon enough, but for now, I got a front row seat. The message was short, friendly tone, but the deadline was bolded, like they always did when fines were involved. It was a reminder to upload inspection files no later than July 6th. No files, no permit, no permit, no operation. I didn't move, just clicked Haley's name out of habit. Her out of office popped up immediately. Offline for mental recharge through July 8th. Urgent matters can wait. Of course they could. I checked her socials without thinking. There she was, Haley in Hawaii, lounging in a pool chair, sunglasses on, drink in hand, captioned, letting the ocean rinse off the stress. She had no idea what just landed in her inbox, and no one else was watching. Quick pause. Before we keep going, how's your day going, and where are you joining from? I hovered over the forward button. My fingers sat there, ready to fire it off to Sam with a quick note. Flagging this so it doesn't get missed. But I didn't. That wasn't my job anymore. Sam had made that perfectly clear. He wanted hands-off, streamlined, trust the process. So I shut the email, closed the tab, and opened a new folder on my flash drive. Title, When This. Blows up all caps. I dragged in the regulator email. Then I dumped in every quarterly report from the past 3 years. I added flagged violations we'd cleaned up, before Sam started deleting things. I pulled the entire refinery contacts sheet from my personal files and locked it behind a password. Then I printed the email, highlighted the date, July 6th, taped it under the sticky note on my monitor like a warning label. After that, the silence got loud. No reply from Sam, no reply from Haley. Nobody else CC'd. Nobody else seemed to notice the time bomb ticking away. By lunch, I started checking the system logs. The permit portal still showed no files received. Status, pending. I watched the hallway from my desk. Sam was in and out of meetings, laughing with someone from sales. Haley's desk sat untouched, chair pushed in like it hadn't been used all week. No one asked me anything. No one looked concerned. By 3 o'clock, I opened a fresh doc and started mapping out the chain of events. June 14th, shared calendar removed. June 17th, inspection reassigned to Haley. June 24th, regulator reminder received. Haley until July 8th. I added timestamps, folder links, and every CC'd email. It wasn't about being petty, it was about survival, because I knew how this game worked. When it all collapsed, they'd come looking for a name to pin it on. They always do, and it wouldn't be Sam's first. It'd be mine, unless I had the receipts. So I made sure every piece was documented. I printed backups, stored one copy at home. Then I went back to the regulator site and refreshed it again. Still blank. Still nothing filed. It wasn't just silence. It was negligence in real time. And they didn't even see it. But I did. And I wasn't about to stop watching. Monday morning, 7:43 a.m. First message in the company chat came from Brian, one of the techs down in Austin. Anyone else getting blocked from the Texas compliance portal? Won't load, just says access denied. I was mid-sip on my coffee, same seat, same sticky note on my monitor. My stomach didn't even flinch. I just leaned back and waited. By 8:02, another ping. This one from a field supervisor near Corpus Christi. We're mid-process and got shut down. No valid permit showing in the registry. What's going on? The thread blew up fast. 5, then 10 replies. A couple of engineers tagging IT, Brian again, saying he'd cleared cookies, tried a different browser, still nothing. At 8:15, Sam finally chimed in. It's a browser cache issue. Happens every time Texas updates their UI. Don't panic. I took another sip of coffee, lukewarm now, but satisfying in the moment. A browser issue. That was his answer to a full shutdown. Quick pause. Before we dive deeper, tell us which country you're watching from. Then Haley appeared. Back from paradise, no tan, no clue. She posted, I'll look into it when I get settled in. Just landed. Aloha. A freaking aloha. At 9:04 a.m., the Texas field office posted the first real warning. We've officially been flagged as non-compliant. Site status, suspended. No movement allowed until permit clears. There it was. The slow-motion crash I'd seen coming for 3 weeks finally hit the wall. Sam didn't respond. Not in the thread, not in person. His door stayed shut. I watched the panic bloom like mold. Emails started flying. Internal flags were raised. By 10:30, the refinery dashboard was blinking red across 3 districts. But no one said my name. No one turned around. No one asked the one person who knew exactly what went wrong and how to fix it. Instead, I opened my inbox and dragged the state reminder email, the one from June 24th, into a folder titled Failure Docs. I timestamped it, logged who was CC'd. Then I opened the permit portal on my screen just to confirm. Status: suspended reason. No inspection report received by July 6th. Penalty start date: July 7th. Fine: $50,000 per day. I didn't even blink. Just sat there and watched as a full-blown compliance failure unfolded 3 feet from Sam's office door. At noon, I took my lunch break like normal. Walked out, bought a turkey sandwich, sat in my car, and didn't check a single message. When I came back, the office air was thick. Haley was whispering to one of the finance guys. Sam paced in front of the whiteboard, holding a marker, but writing nothing. I walked past him without making eye contact, sat back down, reopened the chat thread, and watched the noise double in volume. Now legal was asking questions. Logistics flagged a hold at the Dallas rail terminal. Someone from vendor compliance posted that 2 contractors had already pulled out due to the suspended permit. Still, no one looked my way, and I was fine with that. They wanted streamlined? They got it. They wanted me out of the way? Mission accomplished. Now they could see exactly what happened when you replaced experience with spreadsheets and called it innovation. By 5 p.m., the total had already hit $50,000, and the portal still showed no uploads. I poured myself one last cup of stale break room coffee, took it back to my desk, and sipped it slow while the chat thread lit up with half-baked solutions and blind guesses. It wasn't just a glitch anymore. It was a full system failure, and the countdown had already started. Tuesday morning, 6:58 a.m. I walked in early. The place was dead quiet except for the buzz of the vending machine. I logged in, opened my inbox, and there it was. An internal thread tagged Urgent Distro Hold, Texas Refinery. The subject line had been updated 3 times. The latest reply was from Logistics. We've got 28 pallets of refrigerated output stuck in Waco. Temperature control running hot. Distributions frozen until permits clear. I clicked through the chain. The panic had gone corporate now. Operations flagged risk of spoilage. Legal was in the thread. So was regional sales. Sam still hadn't answered anyone directly. Instead, I scrolled up and found his original reply. We're investigating some technical errors in the compliance system. Likely a missed handoff during the platform transition. Missed handoff, that's what he called it. By 8:10, we were herded into the main conference room. Sam stood by the TV screen, arms crossed, pacing like he was solving something bigger than a screw-up. "Let's keep this productive," he said. "This is a systems issue. We've got redundancies in place, but clearly something slipped." No one said a word. I sat near the back, didn't touch my notepad, didn't blink. "We'll fix the permit delay but the distribution freeze. That's on the logistics team. If those vendors had cross-checked..." "Didn't Claire used to manage refinery permits?" someone interrupted. I didn't even catch who said it. Voice sounded like Mike from compliance, but it was hard to tell. Nobody wanted to be the one to really say it out loud. The silence after that was tight. Haley shifted in her seat. She had a sunburn peeling on her forehead and a hydro flask covered in stickers. Sam didn't look at me. He just started clicking through a half-loaded slide deck about process integration. I walked out before he finished talking. I wasn't required to be there anyway. Back at my desk, my Teams ping lit up. Haley Wilson, 8:41 a.m. "Hey Claire, super random, but do you have access to the permit system? Or know what's needed for Texas? I'm trying to catch up, LOL." I stared at the screen. One message. No punctuation, no apology, no context. Quick note. While you're listening, drop a comment and let us know what country you're watching from. I didn't reply right away. I pulled up my archive folder, opened the original email from 2 months ago, the one where Sam officially reassigned refinery inspections to Haley. Clear subject line, clean CCs, no room for misinterpretation. I hit forward. No commentary, no explanation, just the raw facts. Sent. A minute later, she replied, "Oh, okay, I see, thanks." That was it. By lunchtime, the chat thread had doubled. A new message came through from the cold storage vendor. The goods were nearing temp limit. If they spoiled, replacement cost would hit 6 figures. Sam didn't mention it. No meetings, no updates. His door stayed closed most of the afternoon. I stayed at my desk, silent, watching the numbers stack up in real time. At 3:07 p.m., legal posted that the non-compliance notice from Texas had officially entered penalty phase. First invoice pending. No inspection uploaded. No appeal possible. Still, not one person came to ask me what happened. But now they knew. They knew I'd walked away exactly when I was told to. And the fallout was only getting started. Wednesday, 10:19 a.m. Corporate Legal forwarded the official letter. Subject: Civil penalties for noncompliance. Permit number TX62149. Amount $150,000. No sugarcoating, no buffer language. Just a scanned PDF from the Texas Energy Commission, stamped and final. By 10:23, the internal systems dashboard turned red. I watched as Texas shut down, followed by Louisiana, then Oklahoma. All three tied to the same back-end compliance structure. No permits, no movement. Sales, logistics, dispatch, frozen. 10 minutes later, I got the invite. Emergency sync, 10th floor boardroom, attendance required, not optional, no room to reply. I shut my drawer, grabbed my flash drive, and walked up the stairs. The elevator was full of suits, whispering numbers, and worst-case scenarios. When I stepped in, the tension slapped me in the face. Nobody joked, nobody smiled. Even Sam looked paler than usual. There were 9 people at the table, including 2 VPs from Atlanta and someone from finance I didn't recognize. I sat near the back, uninvited to speak but very much not invisible anymore. Sam stood at the front, tie loose, jaw clenched. "Let's all take a breath," he started. "What happened here is a breakdown in system alignment. We had an over-reliance on outdated tracking methods, and a failed transition process created blind spots." I watched one of the VPs shift in his chair. Sam kept going. "When legacy processes live in individual silos instead of the system, you lose visibility. That's what happened here. We've already begun correcting." The finance guy cut him off. "Who was responsible for the Texas refinery permit this quarter?" Sam didn't blink. Haley handled the technical upload. She was relying on shared processes that didn't transfer properly after the streamlining initiative. My heart rate didn't budge. I just unzipped my laptop bag, opened the lid, and plugged in the flash drive. Quick pause. Before we continue, tell us where you're listening from today. Claire, someone said behind me. Do you have any visibility into this? You used to run that process, right? I didn't speak. I just turned the laptop toward the projector, opened the timeline doc, and dragged it to the screen. 8 columns, 15 entries, every step documented. May 12th, refinery inspections reassigned from Claire to Haley. June 14th, compliance calendar deleted from shared drive. June 24th, TX state reminder email received. Claire CC'd. July 6th, deadline missed. July 7th. Fine begins. July 9, Haley asked Claire for help. Each row had an email link, a timestamp, a document ID. It was tight, clean, bulletproof. I looked up once and caught the CEO's face. He leaned forward in his chair, reading every line like it was a confession. Is all of this backed by communication records? He asked. I nodded once. Yes. Sam shifted behind me, arms folded. With all due respect, Claire wasn't in the loop anymore. That context. The general counsel raised her hand, but she was CC'd on the state's official notice. Yes, I said. By automation. Someone exhaled across the table. The kind of sound people make when it all clicks into place. Sam tried again. The point is, no, the CEO cut in, voice low. The point is we were warned. The delegation was documented, and the deadline wasn't met. Sam didn't respond. I turned off the projector, unplugged my flash drive. Nobody stopped me. The next morning, I got another calendar invite. This one was titled Executive Board Sync, Immediate, Location, 12th Floor Boardroom. Attendees, CEO, Legal, VP Ops, Finance, Sam Morris, and me. I walked in 5 minutes early. The room was already full. Sam sat near the head of the table with a notepad he hadn't written on. I took the chair farthest from him, pulled out my laptop, and waited. The CEO started with no warm-up. We're sitting on $600,000 in penalties and a regional sales freeze across 3 states, he said. Let's walk through how that happened. Sam sat straighter in his seat. I've already laid out the system failures. We transitioned too fast. The upload process didn't transfer from the legacy workflows. And there was confusion around ownership. Who assigned Haley Wilson to manage refinery inspections? The CEO's voice didn't rise, but it cut through the room like a blade. Sam blinked. That decision came during the Streamline rollout. It was part of number. Was that decision made by committee or by you? Sam paused. I delegated it. To someone with 0 field experience. She had documentation. She didn't read the regulator email, the VP from Ops interrupted. She was in Hawaii. Sam opened his mouth, but Legal leaned over and whispered something into the CEO's ear. It was quick, maybe 3 words. That's all it took. The CEO tapped his fingers once on the table. Sam, he said, you're being placed on immediate administrative leave, effective now. Sam blinked like he hadn't heard him right. Wait, hold on. It's not up for debate, the CEO said. Pack your things. Silence fell over the table like a weight. Nobody moved. Sam sat frozen for 3 seconds, then grabbed his notebook and stood up like the chair had turned electric. He didn't look at me, just walked out, one hand clenched into a fist, the other gripping the doorknob harder than he needed to. 5 minutes later, I passed him in the hallway. He was walking out with a brown box full of files he never read and a branded mug that still had the tag on it. Quick break, drop a comment, and tell us what city you're tuning in from. Back in the boardroom, HR pulled me aside. Claire, the manager said, trying to smile. On behalf of leadership, I want to offer an apology for how this transition was handled. We'd like to bring you back into your previous role with a revised title. Director of Regional Compliance. Full control, promotion, bonus, retroactive. She slid a contract across the table. It was neat, generous, came with everything except a time machine. I reached into my folder and handed her a sealed envelope. She opened it, read the first line, looked back at me. This is a resignation? Yes, I said. She blinked, like that word wasn't in her playbook. Effective immediately? Effective yesterday. Her mouth opened, closed. Can I ask, why now? I gave her a small smile. Because I stayed quiet when it counted. That's on me. But I won't do it again. Not for this place. She nodded slowly. You're sure? Completely. I stood, closed my laptop, and shook her hand. She thanked me again. I didn't answer. On my way out, I passed Sam's empty office. The door was still half open. His nameplate was already gone. Just adhesive marks left behind. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just kept walking. I didn't even bring a box. Just walked back to my desk, opened the drawer, and grabbed what mattered. Flash drive. The one labeled "When This Blows Up." My mug, navy blue, no logo, chipped on the side. 2 folders. One for my taxes, one for my reference archive. That was it. I didn't stop by anyone's office. Didn't wave. Didn't say a single goodbye. The floor was buzzing, full of fake shock and quiet scrambling. I heard the words audit, legal, and chain of custody thrown around like confetti. People were pretending to work while watching each other's screens. Haley didn't look up when I passed her desk. She was hunched over her keyboard, typing like her job depended on it, because now it did. I hit the exit button on the elevator and didn't look back once. By noon, I was through TSA and sitting in the lounge, boarding pass in hand. First class, no laptop, no binder, no steel-toed boots. Destination? Austin. Not for inspections, not for strategy meetings, not for anyone else's mess. Just me. And rest. Quick check-in. How's your day going and where are you watching from? At 1:41 p.m., I was in seat 2A. Glass of champagne already in hand before we left the gate. The guy next to me tried to strike up a conversation about market volatility. I smiled politely and turned to the window. As we lifted off, I thought about what was happening back in Baton Rouge. Legal would be tearing apart the audit trail. Human resources would be drafting statements. The leadership team would be scrambling to explain a $2 million gap in projected earnings. Yeah, $2 million. The fines were only the beginning. Missed deadlines, spoiled inventory, frozen vendor contracts. The ripple effect would bury them for a year, and for once, I wasn't saving them. I wasn't flagging emails, sending reminders, or staying up late rewriting reports someone else ignored. I wasn't the safety net anymore. They got exactly what they asked for: streamlined, independent, efficient. I sipped my champagne slow. The bubbles hit just right, cold, clean, final. Somewhere beneath us, Texas stretched out wide and hot, full of oil, money, and bad decisions. But I didn't care anymore. I wasn't part of the fire drill this time. I was on a flight, heading somewhere quiet, with no calendar reminders and no calls waiting. And for the first time in years, I didn't owe anyone anything. The postcard showed up on a Tuesday. Plain white front, cheap print of the refinery skyline, and 4 crooked words scrawled in blue ink. Nothing works. Wish you were here. No name, but I knew the handwriting. Mallory from Records. She'd been with me 6 years. Worked the late shifts without complaining. Backed up every audit packet I ever signed. I propped the postcard against the sugar jar on my table, smiled, and went back to sipping my coffee. It was hot out, August in Austin. Everything baked under that kind of heat, but I didn't mind. I had a seat in the shade, a breeze coming through the trees, and no meetings on my calendar. Meanwhile, back in Texas, the state had kicked off 3 more audits. 2 were scheduled for the fall. 1 was marked unscheduled, which usually meant surprise. That was their way of saying, we don't trust you anymore. Corporate was scrambling, trying to rebuild the same inspection system I ran solo for years. They dug up my old training manuals, my permit checklists, even the templates I'd coded in Excel when we couldn't afford new software. Problem was, nobody knew how to run it. The system wasn't just files. It was timing, relationships, judgment. You had to know the difference between an overdue filter and a flagged valve, between a real risk and a missed checkbox. They didn't just lose a process. They lost the person who made it work. I finished the last sip of my drink, dropped a 5 in the tip jar, and stood. The barista thanked me. I nodded. Didn't say much. I wasn't trying to be mysterious. I just didn't need to explain myself to anyone anymore. Across the street was a used bookstore I'd been eyeing all week. Old wooden sign, open door, no appointment required. I walked toward it, slow and steady. Sun on my face, postcard in my pocket, and no badge on my hip. I didn't need to check in, fix anything, or carry anyone else's weight. Not today. That chapter was closed. The company could rewrite all the reports they wanted, pass the blame around like Halloween candy. But the people who mattered, they knew, and I didn't have to prove anything to anyone. I already wrote the ending.